Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, Fire Emblem Heroes. Hope you like your anime boobs huge. They'll take 2 minutes to download. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell.
Hey Patrick, how's it going?
Good, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Loving this rain.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
It's a little fall of rain.
Can hardly hurt me now.
I'm here.
That's all I need to know.
From now on, this is the new way the show starts, is you and me singing Les Mis songs to each other.
Oh no.
Well, I'm sorry. It was a good show for for like 20 episodes and now.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit. We're transitioning right into the weather report.
I mean, we're both doing fine. What more do you need to know?
That's a good point. We just watched that Super Bowl, right? You watched it. I watched it.
Mm-hmm. It was watched.
It was on the television. Good game.
Yeah, good game.
Got crazy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff happened. Lady Gaga was there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't play much football.
No, I genuinely enjoyed the halftime show.
Oh yeah, no, I did too. I really like Lady Gaga, so
Yeah.
I was happy before it started, and then as it was going, I was happy all the way through. She jumped down, like from who even knows where.
Well, did you see that part was okay? So the beginning part with all the drones in the background was filmed previously.
Okay.
It was on top of the stadium there, but it was filmed earlier because they weren't sure about weather and things like that. So they wanted to make sure they got it. But yeah, she did, like, the descent happened, but she wasn't like coming off of the roof.
I see. I suppose that would be, I mean, no matter what, it's an amazing feat, but it would be almost superhuman to be doing that in like real time.
Right.
Like, what's that crane situation like?
Also, it's just cool to me every year how quickly they are able to move all of these pieces onto the field, and remove them and not damage the playing field.
That's the craziest part, is that the playing field is untouched. But as a result of watching a football game all day yesterday, which is not something I normally do, it's way more TV than I'm used to watching at a single stretch now.
With commercials, which very rarely happens.
Yes. So that's a weird experience. But I'm also just like, I'm laying on the couch for like 4.5 hours.
It was like a 5-hour game.
What is going on? Why is this? What? It's not, you don't feel good when
what
it's
am
over.
I, 14 again?
Yeah, I am not 14 again. My knees cramp up. I feel like I should eat some broccoli or something.
But it rained a little bit here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm transitioning back to weather.
Okay,
we were
fine.
like, oh, we moved right into weather.
Right.
And then I was like, but how? You heard the show. I don't need to recap what happened.
No, okay, so we sang some Les Mis.
Which is what this show is now.
Right, the show is you and me singing Les Mis songs specifically to each other. Not to anyone else, but to each other.
For the weather segment.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mark, what have you been playing?
Hey, we're still plugging away at Metroid Other M.
We are indeed plugging away.
We're
at
close
Other
to
M.
the end.
Home stretch, probably.
Yeah.
So if you are playing along with us, you just got to get yourself to Sector 0, we think. Get yourself to Sector 0 and then join us on Thursday. We'll talk about our experience there fighting Ridley. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. And then the week after, we're gonna polish off this game.
I saw someone post on the internet that their headcanon for Metroid Other M is that it is Federation propaganda against Samus after the events of Metroid Prime Fusion to discredit her. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And I mean, no spoilers here, I guess, but to this point in the game, we don't know who the deleter is.
Oh, great point.
So the deleter could be Samus in in the Federation propaganda against her. I gotta, we talked about what we'd want to see in an upcoming Metroid game way back when we started this thing. Maybe not even a real episode. Might have been a test episode I'm referring to right now. Where we said like Samus needs to go like full heel turn and just like be the bad guy or be like explicitly against the Federation from the get-go. Pro Metroid agenda. I think this all feeds into that same narrative.
So, to add on to your pitch, you play as Ridley.
Oh yeah. Ridley, who has been recruited by the Federation.
Oh sure. I was also thinking maybe in like a you're basically like an Aliens style game, or sort of like a horror game.
Okay,
and
all right.
You're trying to escape Samus, who just like is coming after you,
just mowing down
like
everyone.
Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
You're just trying to save your like
whatever you're trying to save.
Whatever you're trying to
Your
save.
space piracy business. I don't know if it's considered a business or not. They probably don't file like the forms with the IRS. Do you remember the Jurassic Park game on the Genesis? It was a side-scrolling game.
Oh no, I don't.
So there was a Super Nintendo Jurassic Park game that was like a top-down, and then when you went inside buildings, it became a really clunky first-person shooter. But the Genesis version, you would play some levels as Dr. Grant and some levels as a Velociraptor.
Well, that's cool.
And that's how they advertise it, as play as the Raptor. So Nintendo could borrow that and say, play as Ridley. I like it.
I'd buy that.
Great. So would I. And anything else you've been playing, Mark?
I think we've both been playing Fire Emblem Heroes.
I think we both have been playing Fire Emblem Heroes.
And we'll talk about it more later in the show. So
Yeah,
not much to get into right now.
It's our topic. It's what we're going to talk about. We will get into that in a bit. Have you been playing anything else, Mark?
No, I am Star Tropics is calling my name, but
Right.
I just haven't had a chance.
I keep getting have you been playing anything not Nintendo related, or just
No,
been,
I'm
like, a
super
busy week?
tempted to get like Resident Evil 7, but
Yeah, me too. I'm tempted to get that and play. I just I want to have one long uninterrupted stretched. I should have just done that instead of watching the Super Bowl. This is what I should have done. But what was I going to say? Oh, that I keep getting these urges to play other smaller studio games. But I'm also just I'll wait, and I wanted to pick up Stardew Valley recently, and I was like, no, I'll just wait until it's out on the Switch.
oh man, I really want to play Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
And hopefully it sounds like it'll be out on the Switch sometime this year, but that's a long stretch.
It's a long year. We're only in February right now.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Mark, you ready to move on to the news?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to the news.
Pro HUD mode is included in Breath of the Wild.
Pro HUD mode.
Mm-hmm. Heads up display, bro.
Yeah, and professional.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Professional heads up display mode, bro.
Bro HUD, bro.
So this removes basically all the on-screen UI except for your heart containers.
That's interesting. What is normally in the Zelda HUD? Rupees, maybe how many arrows you have.
Yeah, rupees. D-pad. It'll show
sure.
the icons of everything you have. Seems to be some sort of stamina or health.
That's yeah.
Or stamina or magic.
Yeah, because Link's got that sort of his persistent. Is it stamina? Because he runs and climbs on stuff.
Well, I'm
Those
assuming it also removes, because you know how there's the little when he's we've seen in clips when he's climbing rocks and stuff. There's the circular stamina,
right? It's
that
little
drains
that
as
someone cut in half.
Yeah,
right.
That drains as he uses it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that's gone as well. I don't know. It's just it's interesting to me that they have kind of put all this stuff into Breath of the Wild that is kind of kind of seems like everything fans have ever wanted.
Yeah. Well, so do you think this is should be demonstrative of the other kinds of customization that are available in the game. Like, should we be able to expect that we can alter, controls or anything else? Like, are we going to be able to play Breath of the Wild the way we want to play it? Or are there still going to be some like draconian Nintendo barriers in the way?
Yeah, I don't know how indicative it is going to be of like remapping buttons or anything like that.
Sure.
But I mean, to me, this sounds like something that would be in, honestly, like Skyrim.
Yeah.
Right? Like minimal display for the hardcore players.
I remember minimal heads-up display being a selling point of, stay with me now, Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. That it was because when there are things for your lives, for bananas, but when you're not collecting them, they like scurry off the screen.
Yeah.
And I believe it's even in the instruction booklet where it says like, keeping that information off the screen because you don't need it, or something really cute like that. But I that's something that I really like, being able to go like, no, I would like to be more immersed in this now.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like, this is probably how I will play Zelda. There doesn't seem to be any reason not to.
Yeah. Unless it turns out you need all of that information.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible I'm very bad at this game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll be very bad at this game. We don't have it down as a news item, but something that I just wanted to bring up was Nintendo had their We Finished Zelda party last week, Friday, the 3rd, which is exciting. The game is gold and is a real complete game at this point. I mean, I guess we knew that it had to become real at some point.
Well, also, we're only like 25 days away from Switch when this is being recorded. So they're going to have to start sending out review units pretty soon.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see when people start to get review units, and B, how it reviews. Also, how quickly. I suppose there'll be obviously a thing where you can't say anything about it. Embargo. Thank you. On the game until closer to launch, but it'll be interesting to see how much people will actually play this game. Because it sounds like it's going to be enormous. I know enormous games come out all the time, but this is not going to be it's not going to be bigger than GTA 5 or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm sure also if you want to play more linearly, I'm sure you can do that as well. Like in Red Dead Redemption, when people were reviewing that, I doubt they like skinned the like 1,000 coyotes or whatever you needed to get a trophy.
Right. No, in the game, the experience you have with the game is the experience you have with the game. You don't need to do everything, of course. Yeah, I'm excited we're getting close to this thing.
Oh man, me too. The Box Boy amiibo, has been released in Japan, and so the people who imported it are starting to get it. That is that's the only news item, is this thing is cute.
Man, what a great news item.
It's so simplistic. Have you seen pictures of it?
Yeah, it's just like, it's just a little box with legs and eyes.
And you're just like, yep, this is great.
Mm-hmm. I just to make this personal for a second. First of all, we can import these things. I can import.
Apparently.
I wonder if it's available without the retail version of the game, or if you have to buy.
No, I was just reading today. It is available by itself.
I'm going to buy it then.
Is it not coming out here?
It has not been announced. But I did get my Poochie amiibo.
Oh, I'm looking
around.
Yeah,
he's not around. So you'll notice, Mark, that yes, many of I saw your face. You recoiled a little bit. You're noticing there are far fewer amiibo around than there used to be. I got some boxes to put a amiibo in because I have so many. And now the goal is to like rotate them in and out, so there's not just like a pile of them.
Oh, it's like a museum collection.
Yeah, exactly. So now the curated collection over in the case over here on the side, it's got Mega Man in it. It's got 8-bit Link. It's got an Inkling. It's got Toad. It's got Kirby and some other stuff. So I'm excited about cycling them in and out instead of just having like a mess of amiibo around the apartment.
But you didn't want to put the new one out?
So,
or does it not fit? Because it's
well,
also
he doesn't
weird
really
size.
fit. Yeah. Sarah and I had him out earlier, had Poochie and the 3 Yarn Yoshi amiibos that we have. They were like out this weekend because it's also adorable. Like they're all amiibo are cute, I think. But the yarn ones are especially cute. So I don't know. I think I maybe just got like burned out on playing with it. Again, I was laying on the couch for 4.5 hours on Sunday, like just having him jump around and like, bark at stuff.
Sensor Tower, which is an app analytics company, estimates that Fire Emblem Heroes grossed $2.9 million in its first day of release. That compares to their estimates for Pokemon Go, Super Mario Run, and Clash Royale at 10.2 million, 8.4 million, and 1.4 million, respectively.
So not a bad showing for like a not huge Nintendo property, right?
Yeah, and just based on the reviews that it's gotten in the App Store, it's I think around like on the US App Store around like 5,000. It's at 4.5 stars.
Okay,
which seems great. And based on its chart position in Japan, it seems to be a like fairly, so far, where it's early, so far like fairly solid success.
My guess would be that this is a lot more of a steady moneymaker than like Mario Run.
Yeah, that seems likely.
I think if anything, it's going to make more money as it goes on, like per day, than it is currently. But so that's good news for Nintendo in the mobile game market.
A million. Okay, so this. All right, look. Basically, every developer in the world has been asked about the Switch, and a million of them have noted their interest in the Switch, but have nothing to announce at this point. I mean, basically, it's like, do you need a news item for every time somebody says, "Yeah, the Switch looks cool, but we don't have anything to announce"?
Yeah, let's go back and do a news item for every single one. So, interesting and good news. Again, just like I kind of just want to play all of those smaller, more independent games on Switch.
Well, I mean, I think we're
hopefully
lucky that it seems like a lot of indies are interested in the Switch. It seems to be easy to port to the Switch. And so if it's easy and there's an audience for it,
that's going to be the thing. Like, it's all going to come down to install base and how adventurous people are being with their Switches.
But when the launch lineup was first announced, people are like, "Oh, there's not very many games." And as the couple of weeks have gone by, so many indies have come forward to be like, "Oh, also we're there at launch, and we're there at launch, and we're there at launch, and we're there in launch window." So it became like super robust. But honestly, like, the developer of For Honor is saying that there's like, not gonna be a Switch version. It's like, yeah, that's not a news item. That's just like basic. It's incredibly obvious. For one, even if they were eventually going to do a Switch version, which they're not, but if they were eventually going to do it, they're not going to talk about it when they're in the run up to press for their for the release of the Xbox One, PC, and PS4 version.
Right. Sell that first. And then later, when people realize they love it and they want to be able to play it on the go, then you do it.
I don't know. I guess it's just not news to me when like you ask like some developer, it's like asking 341i or whoever does Halo.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right, and being like, or 343, whatever. And they're
Nobody
like,
cares.
It's like, "Hey, is Halo going to be on Switch?" And it's like, the answer is obviously no.
Yes.
And nobody and nobody's going to badmouth the Switch, right? Like, for the most part, people are just like, "Hey, it's really interesting, but we don't have anything to announce at that point," which is PR speak for the love of God, don't write an article about this, because who cares?
Who cares about us not having something to... Okay, but on the subject of not having anything to announce at this time, do you feel like there's still a lot we don't know about the Switch?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. I know there was a little bit of the UI in action leaked recently. I didn't really read up on that or look for any pictures or anything. Do you have any more insight on that? Or
I mean, I guess like Nintendo of Portugal, it was accidentally released in a commercial or in some video.
right,
The
like developers tools.
yeah,
Okay,
the develop like what the dev kit looks like. I don't know why that's a secret, or like I don't know why people care.
right,
I didn't look that far into it because I don't care.
right.
Um, but I mean, we know nothing about Virtual Console.
Yeah, we don't know if there is a virtual console. Honestly, at this point, it could just be that you pay for the online service and you can play games online plus the 1 or 2 Nintendo or Super Nintendo games a month. And maybe that's it. Like, maybe that's it.
I keep waiting for them to confirm, or not confirm, but just to like announce another Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, that would be nice. It would be nice to just get like just a real nitty gritty. Here's what it looks like when you turn it on. Here's what it looks like when you go to the store. Here's everything.
I mean, I guess we're still a few weeks out, and they've probably pretty much sold through their launch allotment.
Mm-hmm.
So they figure that they don't really need to give that information.
That's right.
But
these
or
suckers
at least,
don't need or want information.
or at least they don't feel the need to give it out like 3 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, fingers crossed, like as we get closer.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, the only thing that they absolutely need to be able to deliver on is having an eShop so that you can buy the 5 or 6 games that come out launch. I Am Setsuna is only going to be available digitally, so that and it's a launch title. Therefore, the store has to exist in some form. But it would be nice to know what that looks like. Also, I've been thinking about grabbing like a Nintendo gift card now, eShop gift card now, just so that I have or the money on my account. But I don't know if like an existing Nintendo eShop card is going to work on the Switch store.
Great question.
Maybe a stupid question, but also like, why would I assume that it would?
Right. I mean, if I would assume that it will,
but it's making
there's
assumptions.
There's like, who knows?
No one at this point.
Something they did release was a Super Bowl commercial.
Hey, they sure did.
During the fourth quarter.
Yeah, late in the game. But that's also when the game got good.
Yeah, which is kind of lucky because I think that Super Bowl commercials get cheaper the further into the game it goes.
Yes. I always remember the like back half of the game is when you start to see repeats of commercials. Well, that may not be true.
I think
there's
I think there's a rule,
years.
at least recently, that they don't repeat commercials on the Super Bowl.
Oh, interesting. So maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, so they released a Super Bowl commercial and a long version of the Super Bowl commercial. Mark, did you watch them both?
I didn't see the long version.
So the long version tells a completely different story.
Huh.
Like the version that airs on TV is just Zelda, right? It's just Zelda looking cool, Link fighting bosses,
Guy walking around his house playing Zelda.
Oh yeah, I am so gonna walk around the house playing Zelda.
I don't plan to go outside.
No, me neither. But I will walk around. I'll go to the fridge, to the bathroom. Did you see that trailer for? It was like a UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna play this thing on the can, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, everybody is.
Yeah, it's foolish to assume that you're not going to. But the longer version of the commercial has a lot of arms in it. That like one-on-one fighting boxing kind of game. And a lot of kids playing it. Kids and dads like going after the family angle, and there's even some 1-2 switch in there, and kind of showing off the more party play aspects of the system, which I think is interesting that they're telling the like family friendly side of the story now too, but perhaps even more interesting that they're like, but we're not putting that on TV. That's not the TV part.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we've talked about their like narrow focus when it comes to marketing this thing, and I think it's just another example of it. I feel like if this was the Wii U, you would have seen it doing everything.
Right.
And this time they're like, hey, do you like this cool looking Zelda game?
Of course you do. It's a cool looking Zelda game.
And now you can take it anywhere you go. Also, from all the previews for people who've been having hands-on with it, it really is like seamless, taking it out of the dock and putting it in the dock in just a few seconds for it to transfer between, and that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about all of the like mechanical components of this. That like I keep hearing accounts of like, sliding Joy-Cons like on and off. That's satisfying. I'm probably just gonna like sit in the dark, listening to Mozart Requiem, just to pulling the handles on and off, and switching from handheld mode to TV mode over and over again, until the cops kick in the door and drag me away.
And your girlfriend crying.
Yeah, that's right.
It didn't have to be this way.
My fingernails are 2 feet long. My hair touches the floor. Yeah, no, I'm excited about the physicality of this thing. How do we get onto that?
The Switch Super Bowl commercial.
There we go.
Bringing it all back together. Oh, tight show. Nintendo president Tatsumi. We practiced this before, but give me a hand.
Kimishima.
All right. Tatsumi Kimishima told Nikkei that the company will add VR support to its upcoming Switch console if it can resolve issues of comfort over long periods of use.
Yeah.
You'll remember that there was that patent filed where you could, in theory, put like the Switch. Well, I guess I was going to say the tablet part, but the Switch, you could like put it into a headset. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see if Nintendo is able to resolve this like issue of it being isolating and weird to play for like 5 hours at a time.
Yeah, and just uncomfortable to play for 5 hours at a time.
I mean, I don't know what that solution looks like, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, because those are genuinely the major things that are keeping me away from VR. And like it being, and they don't mention this as one of it, but it being like, but they've talked about it before, like VR being so isolating.
Yeah,
where you're like, okay, somebody could be in, like somebody comes home and or somebody comes into the room and you're just like have this dumb headset on.
Yeah, I mean that's the thought of playing Resident Evil in VR. It's less scary to me that the zombies may appear to be very close to you, and more that you would have no idea who's actually literally around.
Yeah, like if you get legit murdered.
Yeah. So, until we get some really solid stats on how many people get murdered.
Did we just fix the Ring sequel? Have it happen in VR?
What do you mean fix it?
Well, apparently the one that's out is not very good. There's a Rings movie out right now.
No, I know.
Yeah. Or should we reboot the Final Destination franchise, and just that way we can have one of those deaths like that? Death by VR somehow.
Oh, okay. So you're playing a VR game, and then you're just murdered? What are you proposing that we do here, Mark? What's the product?
I'm saying it's either a sequel to the movie The Ring, right?
Okay.
But we have the girl crawl through the VR headset instead of
what does that
television.
What does that look like then? She crawls out of the VR headset? Like, pitch it to me.
Look, I'm just an ideas man.
Yeah, okay, all right. I'll hammer out the details then. So you're wearing the headset.
I mean, not me.
We're gonna finish this idea, okay? You're wearing the headset.
A character in the film is wearing a headset.
A character, Mark Mitchell, is wearing the headset.
Fine.
We see from Mark's perspective the little girl crawling towards his perspective, and then we like cut outside to this character's friend. We'll say it's Patrick Ellers, a character in the movie, and
we can change the names later. But sure.
The names are the same. And his friend, definitely named Mark Mitchell, becomes the girl from The Ring, but like in reverse, because she's like crawling out through the headset into your body.
Oh, that's interesting. Sure, why not?
And then sits straight up and punches me in the throat. Or this character named Patrick Ellers, who is not necessarily me.
I mean, we'll work on the ending, but I was into everything up to that point. But also Final Destination, they were killing teenagers in interesting ways, and I feel like you could find an interesting way to kill a teenager using VR.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think we solved something.
Cinema?
Look, we need more VR scenes in movies that aren't just people like looking around going, whoa, right? Because that's all VR scenes are now.
I mean, are there a lot of VR scenes in?
I'm gonna, with no information, say yes.
Okay, great. I believe you. I finally found someplace for new releases.
Yeah, where did you find these?
It's www.perfectly-nintendo.com/upcoming-releases. And now here's the thing. I have no way to verify if these are true.
Great.
But it's the most comprehensive list I've found in a way that is easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
So serious kudos to perfectlynintendo.com.
And in honor of that, let's just read all of the titles.
Great.
Without knowing what they are.
February 9th, 3DS eShop, Rocket Fist, Parascientific Escape 2, and Azure Striker Gunvolt OVA or OVA. Wii U eShop and 3DS eShop, Plantera.
Is Plantera that 2D Minecraft kind of game?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes. Plants seem to feature prominently.
And why would they not? All right, great. You got a pick? Any of those that you're gonna play at all? The answer is no. Do you want to move out of the news? Let's move out of the news. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, remind me what we're talking about today.
Lego Batman.
We are talking about Lego Batman. So generally speaking, Batman, you would say you're a fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
You like Batman.
Yeah, put me in the pro column.
Yeah. I'm not going to say no more Batman, please.
Yeah, I will say, like a reasonable amount of Batman is enough for me.
Okay. Reasonable people could argue about what a good amount of Batman is. Lego movie. We saw the Lego movie together.
Loved it.
Loved that Lego movie. Had a good time. Came out singing that song. Had a great time.
Had a great time.
How do you feel about Lego Batman?
Sure, why not?
Okay, also this is coming from a perspective of neither of us have seen it.
Well, it hasn't come out yet.
Doesn't matter. Neither of us have seen it.
Yeah, okay, sure.
And there will be no possible spoilers.
Right.
Here. So you're thinking, sure, why not Lego Batman?
Yeah.
I don't like the way the movie's being advertised, I think.
I will honestly say I have only seen billboards and like bus stop ads. I haven't seen any trailer, very little TV commercials. I think there's like a car commercial tie-in, but that's the only one I've seen.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. It's some kind of commercial tie-in. And these are petty and or unrealistic complaints, but like there's one where Batman is turning on his music and he throws a bunch of batarangs at the stereo. After like the 30th one hits and actually triggers the button. Oh, this is the first movement here that people are applauding between. Anyway, he throws a bunch of batarangs. One of them finally hits, and then he goes first try, which is a joke from the Lego Movie. I don't know. There's something about like the really trite recycling of stuff that makes
the thing I'm nervous about is how if it was kind of a one-note joke in the Lego Movie. It was a funny joke, but it was so it'll be interesting to see how that sustains over a entire movie. Is his rogues gallery in it? Is Batman's rogues gallery? Like, do we know what the premise of this movie is?
So the premise of the movie is the Joker, voiced by Zach Galifianakis, feels spurned by Batman, who doesn't place the same importance on their relationship that the Joker does. So the Joker rounds up Batman's rogues gallery and turns them all in. So Batman is then without his villains. That's the premise of the movie. I don't know how it plays out from there. But that's a charming story idea. Like, I don't know. I like that. It's almost like a reverse Hush of like, the anti-trotting out everyone, just like trotting them out to put them all away.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no reason for me to not see this movie.
Yeah. Are there, beyond Batman Rogues, are there other DC characters, Lego DC characters, that you would like to see in this movie?
In this movie?
Yeah. Or we can spin it out from there to say what other, like, given the same treatment, the same kind of goofy treatment, would you like to see, like, in the DC universe? Other than Lego Constantine, of course.
I don't know. I don't know that I have one.
It does seem like Lego Batman is singular in that regard, right? That, like, nothing else really makes sense. And I think that's just because Batman's so flexible. Like, Batman has already existed in both Adam West and Tim Burton iterations and Christopher Nolan iterations. So, like, Batman already is all of these things, even at, like, the highest level, even at, like, the cinematic level.
Now, did you play with Legos growing up?
A little, yeah.
Yeah, I played with it a little bit. I never had the patience for it.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like the patience to build kits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mostly made just whatever I wanted to, and did a lot. I made a lot of marble mazes with Legos. I don't really know why.
Have you ever been to like any of the Lego stores?
Yeah, there was one in downtown Chicago that I had been to a couple times.
Those are really cool.
They're real neat, yeah.
How awesome would it be to be a Lego master builder? Like the people that their job is to like construct those enormous, like dragons or Death Stars or Stormtroopers or whatever they're going to have on, like in the Lego stores.
Do you think those people consider themselves engineers or artists? Artisans, probably. They probably considered themselves artisans.
Well, I mean, educate me. What's the distinction between an artisan and an artist?
I would say that an artisan is, it's almost more like what's the difference between an art and a craft. Like an artisan is someone who isn't necessarily out to make a statement with something, whereas an artist is someone who is, their job is not to just create a thing, but to create a thing that evokes an emotional reaction.
So like a carpenter would be an artisan.
Yes.
I see. I don't know. I guess I can't speak for master builders as to what but I don't know. I would think they're artists.
Yeah.
But we'll never know.
We'll never know. We will never know whether they are artists or artisans. We were accompanied today by the Marshall University MUS 361 ensemble, and that was 433. Which brings us to our main topic for the show. And that, of course, is Fire Emblem Heroes. Released last week on Thursday to all phones everywhere. I assume it just appeared on all phones everywhere at the same time. Actually, kind of weird. It showed up kind of late in the day, right? I remember checking around lunchtime and it wasn't up yet, and grabbed it later in the evening. So, Heroes, you've been playing a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing a little bit of it. My first experience with it, not great.
Supremely negative.
Right. I have since come around on it in a pretty strong way. But why don't you tell me about your first like get up and go with it?
Well, it felt like 2 or 3 times I started up the app, it kept having to download data.
Yeah,
the first one is like
more data.
The first one is like 50 megabytes or something, and then the second one was like 200.
Yes.
And so that's like annoying because you just downloaded the app and then you open it and it's like, hey, you can't play yet. Download more.
JK, I need to download a little bit more. I mean, is that like all they're trying to do is like minimize the time between you deciding you want to pick up the thing and actually getting into play something, right?
Well, but I don't even think you can. I mean, yes, I think that's the intention, but
yeah.
I don't even think you can play anything until you at least download the first
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though the second one is much bigger.
Yeah.
And then there was a third one after that, which was smaller, definitely. But it's still one of those things where the third one I was even going to get like while I was out or something, and then I was like, "Oh, we've got another one of these things to do. Do you want to do it now?" And I was like, no, I can wait till I get home and get back on Wi-Fi."
So once it became available in the App Store, I downloaded it on my phone, and I was at work, and then I booted up, and immediately like the splash screen is while the data's downloading is like large images of the characters, and one of them is Camilla, who is
busty. She's busty.
She has no torso. She is just
buxom.
Her torso is entirely boobs.
Yeah, and there aren't, I don't think, too many characters like that.
No.
But occasionally there are. And it's just, so generally speaking, I find the variety of character design in this a little bit unsettling, because there are some, everyone has like their little like chibi anime thing running around on screen. And then also like the close up, like these kind of portraits of them. And some of them you can tell they're pulling from like way older games.
Oh yeah, the portraits are, and some of them are like really low quality.
Yeah.
And a lot of them look great.
Yes.
In general, I think the presentation of the game is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're of varying quality, and immediately as soon as like Camilla was up, I was just like, oh, I cannot play this at work.
Yeah. I remember when I was first getting into reading Green Lantern comics, and I was living in Chicago, and I would read Green Lantern comics on the train, unless the Red Lanterns were around, because then there are like 4 or 5 different Red Lanterns that just have enormous breasts and vomit plasma blood, and it's just like, no, this is too dumb. This is too dumb and too sexual and too violent.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's not even that anybody at my work would particularly care, right? It's more just like the absolute embarrassment I would feel of having to answer the question of what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like somebody walking by and being like, Mitchell, what's going on? Right? And as I have this like enormously breasted anime woman taking up the entirety of my screen. Right?
Yeah,
It's just like, that's just a question I don't want to answer.
Yeah, but I mean, can't you just be like, I'm gay, it's okay? Can you just do that? You don't want to take that out, Mark?
So yeah, so that's honestly kind of I was like, I don't know. So to me, that was an immediate where it's like, well, come on, guys.
Yeah, so the thing is, Fire Emblem does have a little bit of a problem with, and this is just like the sort of Japanese problem with sex and sexuality. Like the most recent Fire Emblem game on 3DS, when being localized for the States, they took out a mini game where you bond with your units by like rubbing them, and you're not like rubbing their genitals or their enormous breasts, but like it's a little bit like the Pokemon thing, the Pokemon Refresh, right? But it's a million times creepier to, scratch your Archer behind his ears until he loves you, than doing that to your Pikachu. So I think that's just some of the same sort of baggage.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think that is potentially a barrier to entry in the US that doesn't exist in Japan.
Agreed.
Right? I think this game will be much more popular in Japan. Yeah, this game is, so that's one negative, is it's like, yeah, I don't know how much I want to play this in public.
Right.
Which is a problem for a mobile phone.
Oh, game. Yes. Where have you done most of your playing of this?
At home.
At home, yeah.
So I haven't played it much because like I've put in like hours because I knew we were going to be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm at home, just like how Super Mario Run ended up, like, I didn't really want to play this at home. If I was at home, I wanted to do something else.
Right.
I feel like Fire Emblem Heroes is going to have that problem for me, where it's like, well, I'm at home, I can play a million other better games, honestly.
Right. Or like 10 better Fire Emblem games if you wanted to. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're comparing this to almost any other Fire Emblem experience or any other real-time or not turn-based strategy experience, like those are probably going to be better than this game. However, I don't want to come off too negative about it because I only played a little bit when I first downloaded it, and maybe like clicked on one more time over the weekend, and was sort of frustrated by like one of the maps. My guys kept getting like stuck in something, and it's a little counterintuitive how to like change your team, like change your lineup, and so it took me longer than I care to admit to get a handle on like how the game is played.
No, I completely agree. When you first boot it up, there is so much happening, and it's not very well directed. Like it doesn't do a very good job of taking you through the steps of how to play the game, right? So like, sure, there's like a battle, but then there are so many. Like a pro for this game is that it has so many options. There's so many it's a full role playing game, right? You can your characters level up. You can get them new skills. You can change up your team. You can do all of these things. But I feel like it's so very poorly explained.
Yeah. Well, and there's no I feel like the game has a little bit of I wish there was more fussiness about every step that you take, because I feel like I'm constantly making decisions in the game without realizing that I'm committing to making a decision. Like I end characters' turns next to someone I want them to attack and just haven't like pulled my finger over to make them attack, and just like I'll start fights and without like going back to change which group I'm sending out, and like it should ask you as you start the fight like which team are you sending out? Is it A team, B team, whatever? And I feel like I want a little bit more. I want the game to manage me a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. Like I want a little bit more direction. Once I started like digging into the menus and being like, oh, this is a thing you can do. It's really cool that you can earn skills and and learn skills and all that kind of stuff.
And that you
it's buried
up.
in like menu after menu, right? And it's never made. It feels, especially when you first open up the game and you're in your castle.
Yeah.
And there's like you have stamina that you can earn, right? Or that you can buy more of. There's the swords that you can buy more of. There's the feathers. There's like gold. There's orbs. There's so many like little things that especially when you first look at it, you're like, what does any of this do? What does any of this mean?
Yeah, it was, I mean, today, just at the very end of my play session was the first time that I depleted all of my stamina, right? Like you have to play for like 2 hours straight before the game's like, oh, okay, you need to like charge up,
which is cool. That stamina is that way. I mean, orbs go much faster if you're trying to get certain pulls.
Oh, and like pro tip on that, like always wait until you've got the 20 orbs so that you can clear out a whole thing, so that you can get units faster. Because the first one in a set it costs 5 orbs, and the next 3 cost 4, and the last one costs 3. So you get more if you save up to 20.
Really the only other, and we're front loading it with all of my negative thoughts on it.
Sure.
So if you're listening and you enjoy the game, like we're not gonna dump on it the entire time.
Right. We'll get to things we liked about it. For sure.
Yeah. So just one last thing that I'm like not even like a negative, or not something that I hated about it, but something that I'm just ignoring completely is the story.
Yeah.
I gave it a good college try. Like I really like tried to understand what was going on, but it's a bunch of like names, and
I mean it's basically nonsense, right? It's a fantasy story where they're pulling in, it's basically Fire Emblem Lego movie, right? Where they're just pulling in characters from all the different Fire Emblem games, and they're all being summoned from different universes.
And maybe if I was really knowledgeable about Fire Emblem, then I'd be like, oh, this person, that's interesting. But I'm just like, oh, like just a random collection of letters that I guess is a name is
Right.
angry at this other random collection of letters. Oh, and here's the boobs lady again.
Be like,
Right.
oh, hey, Roy. I know Roy from Smash Brothers.
Yeah, so I've been skipping all of that. But for fans potentially it's interesting.
And it's not difficult or take long to skip through. You can skip any conversation, and even if you're not skipping them, they're not very long once you get past the prelude. So all of that can go by pretty fast. But so there are like little events, like special maps, I think they're called, that you can access. And one that's available tonight, I think it's done after tonight. The reward is you get a character named Donald.
I think there's 3 more days.
Oh, three more
I
days
think so, because I just did it tonight.
Okay, and you got Donnell?
Yeah.
He's a peasant class character. You see he's rated at 1 star.
Mm-hmm.
No one else you get is everyone else starts at 3 stars. But Donnell is a character from Awakening who starts out like really crappy, and as he levels up becomes one of the most powerful characters in the game. So if you are playing this game, like, get Donnell. He seems like he's dead weight right now, but he can be one of the better fighters on your team by the end. But I think so that was exciting for me to see him on there, but I could see someone else picking up the game and seeing that like this is an event and being like, why do I want this guy? I can just throw 5 orbs at something and get someone else who's like riding a dragon or something.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage having never played any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever really played any of them, because again, I know like Roy, I know Marth, I've heard of Robin. Right now I have a 5-star Robin.
Ooh.
And a 5-star Roy.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else, it does. So exactly, like Donnell, I saw that as 1 star, and so this is great to know that I should be leveling him up, because I was like, I'm never gonna use this guy.
Right. No, he's great. And also just like he has, when he talks, he's all like folksy and stupid. I don't know. I like that character a lot. But yeah, I mean, I can tell I'm absolutely favoring characters that I had in Awakening. And if I were a bigger fan of the series, like I think this is a probably a great experience for fans of the Fire Emblem series.
But doesn't that feel limiting?
Of course.
For it to be like, and again, maybe they don't, because Fire Emblem Heroes feels different to me from Pokemon Go or Super Mario Run, where Pokemon Go and Super Mario Run are tangential to the main series, right? Like Pokemon Go isn't going to replace a Pokemon game.
Right.
Super Mario Run isn't really a traditional Mario game. Like it's not going to replace the experience of a Mario game.
Right.
As far as I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is scaled down. Like the maps are small compared to the main Fire Emblem games, but it seems to be a fully formed Fire Emblem game.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 80% of the way. I mean, even taking into consideration like scaled down maps, like the combat is simplified. The characters don't miss. There are a lot of other ways that the combat is simplified. You don't have support characters. The terrain is simplified, like the effects of the terrain are simplified.
So in your opinion, do you think that somebody who, how Pokemon got a huge boost from people being like, oh, Pokemon Go,
yeah,
I'm going to check out a full Pokemon game on the 3DS. Do you think a similar thing would happen with Fire Emblem Heroes to a new Fire Emblem game? Or do you think it's one of those things where is pretty appealing to the fan base and
probably
they're just kind of like, okay, I don't know that I necessarily, if I'm a casual fan, I have what seems to be a fully formed Fire Emblem game that I can play for free, quote unquote, and so I don't know that I need to pick up the I guess like the main version.
I guess the argument against that is if you do have a 3DS already, and I guess that's a pretty big if, right? But if you have access to a 3DS, Fire Emblem Awakening, which is one of the best games on the system, is $20. And you can drop $20 in Fire Emblem Heroes really easily. Did you go into the menu for purchasing orbs?
Yeah.
They're expensive. If you spent $20, you'd get, maybe like 30 orbs or something like that. Which is just it's just a little bit over what I was saying to wait for. But so I do think that it's probably more the experience of keeping people who are like keeping the fan base energized about Fire Emblem, but also serving to pull in people who are like kind of curious about it. I mean, like you engaged with this. This is your first Fire Emblem game, effectively, right?
Yeah, but I also have a Nintendo podcast.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I genuinely don't like. I guess I would have downloaded it because I'm a Nintendo fan, but I don't know that I would have engaged with it for as long as I have if I didn't have to talk about it.
I think that's a real problem with the game, is that the beginning of it is too slow and weird, and doesn't make itself its value is not demonstrated until you've been playing it for like 2 or 3 hours.
Because moving into like positive things.
Yes, that's right.
The actual gameplay I think is super fun.
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying it. I'm like when I'm in the actual battles, I'm enjoying that aspect of it. Because for me, I don't care. Okay, well, I don't care that much about the gacha stuff.
Yeah.
Like about getting new and better heroes. But at the same time, when I got Roy, like the 5-star Roy and the 5-star Robin from like the poll, that felt pretty darn good.
You just pulled those? Because I don't have any 5-star.
Oh yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you are not familiar with the game, if you haven't downloaded it yet or don't plan on downloading it, the way you add heroes to your team is you earn orbs or you buy orbs from the in-app store using real money, and then you randomly like get a hero, basically.
Right. What it does is it pulls up like one Fire Emblem, which is a thing that has 5 slots on it, and it's slots of different colors, and that's sort of random per like each one of those that you engage with. And the first hero that you pull from that set of 5 costs you 5 orbs. Second, third, and fourth all cost 4 orbs, and the 5th one, if you're gonna get all 5, is 3 orbs.
And then you so the orbs are different, or the
the colors
the stones are like different colors, and they represent different like combat types.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hero you get is of that combat type, and it could also be like, it's like Pokemon in this way where it's random. It could be a 3-star, a 4-star, a 5-star hero, and there's like one above that. It's
5-star focus.
5-star focus, which I don't understand what that means either.
I mean, that's not that's new to this game, that characters would be rated that way. But that's where you're gonna get Marth. That's where you're gonna get I think like Lucina and the hero from Fates. Like that's where like these top tier characters are.
And so is the draw rates like the percentage lower for those?
I think so. I think it shows you the draw rate, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like for the better heroes, or for the better like 5-star, it's like 3% or something.
Sure.
And yeah, like I don't know how much I care about that. Like, at least so far, I have my like,
yeah.
I guess at this point, like,
you've got a Roy and a Robin. So
yeah, I have like
I'm
10.
jealous.
But I have like 10 heroes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's like 200 currently, and I'm sure they'll be adding more or something like that. And at least for right now, like I feel content.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also kind of a point where, because you take 4 characters into battle each time, and I've got 2 parties that I use right now, but like one of them is my A team, the other one is my B team, and then everyone else sucks, you know?
Yeah.
And so like I could see where if you wanted to like be completionist about it and like get characters up to high levels, and I'm sure there's going to be a like late game aspect of this where, you know, you're fighting just like harder and harder versions of stuff. Have you done any of the hard mode?
No, I haven't yet.
So you can after you beat a map, you can replay it on the hard difficulty or insane. It's just something like there's another difficulty above hard, which is like levels up your opponents considerably. So like there is a end of game game that could be engaging and could be something to like really work for.
Is there a level cap right now? Do you know for like individual?
I don't know. I think so because there's a point where there's a something called like true potential or something about the character's potential where you can change maybe the class of a character that reaches level 20 or something like that.
Oh, I thought true potential, and maybe I'll try to pull it up right now, but I thought
Am I using the right term there? True potential?
advanced growth. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, advanced
unlock
growth.
potential.
Unlock potential.
So I think what that does is it increases like their star rating.
Oh, okay, I see.
If you have enough of whatever material it is, like feathers, hero feathers, something like that, it'll like it'll increase their star level. It like resets them to level 1 when you do that.
Sure, okay.
But then what's the point of multiplayer, or what's the point of adding friends?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't tell. Like, I don't think there's like I don't think we can play against each other, right?
I don't think
pit
so.
Our teams against each other. It doesn't seem like that would be hard though, right? Like if it could be like really passive multiplayer where you and I just like have a fight going, and like I check in on it when it's my turn, you check in on when it's your turn, words with friends style.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be. Yeah, you could do that.
I mean, it would all just come down to whoever's been grinding longer.
Well, when you go to battle right now, there's special maps, story maps, arena duels, and training tower.
Now, what are the arena duels?
I don't know.
It's always closed when I click on it.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that eventually is going to become multiplayer. There's also a mystery one that has yet to be revealed. Training tower is cool because it's basically just like practice maps that aren't part of the story mode, but they add experience to your characters.
Yep.
Special maps are where the Donnell and then there's a current like launch celebration one in there. Oh, you're right. There's only what I thought was days left is hours left. So Donnell ends in like an hour.
Okay, so too late for you as you're listening to this. Even though you're listening to it on the day it comes out and telling all of your friends about it and rating and reviewing it on iTunes, it's too late for you to get Donnell. He'll be back. He'll be back. It's Donnell.
The other
He'll
thing,
be back.
They also have like a bunch of different elements in the game that I haven't really explored yet, but like you can customize your castle.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Well, so there's the kingdom, your kingdom in Super Mario Run.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this is set up like the home screen or whatever you want to call it is your castle is set up very similar to the kingdom in Super Mario Run. There's like a message board. There's a place where you go to get gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So that is all the same.
It also has like some of your units milling about.
Yeah. And you can like tap on them and they have like a little bit of dialogue.
And sometimes they give you something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually one thing that I've liked a lot is like the voice acting in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they credit the voice actors.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But I like it too.
But you can customize your castle, so you can like buy carpet for it and just like stuff like that. And again, it's all money. But let's actually see how much. Yeah, so 3 orbs is $2.
Yeah.
23 orbs is $13. So it's basically $13 to get pretty much a full, like a little over a full.
To get 5 characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To upgrade your castle. Oh, I'm using orbs. A 1 orb to get Torchlit Castle, which boosts my experience earned by 20%. That seems actually not that bad.
Are you doing that right now? Actually, that is pretty good. I'll do that too when I hop back in. Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot here. Like if you were afraid that this was going to be an incomplete experience, it's definitely not that. How do you think you're going to keep playing? I mean, I know we've reached the point where now we have had a conversation about it. if we weren't talking about it tonight and I hadn't put in 2 or 3 hours this afternoon, I don't think I would be even thinking about this game
It's
anymore.
gotten better as I've played.
Yeah.
I am enjoying it more the further I get in.
Mm-hmm. As am I.
I did not care for it initially.
Yeah.
I don't know that I am going to keep playing. I kind of just want to play this has made me want to play a real Fire Emblem game.
Sure. Well, so there you go. The conversion rate at the very least, we'll see what the conversion rate is. We probably won't actually see what it is, but just for you specifically, you can see like the sort of bulkier versions of the mechanics at play, and it seems like something that you'd actually be interested in messing around with.
Yeah. Oh, and I will also. I've been playing almost most of the time on my iPad, and unlike Super Mario Run, where I found the iPad to not be the ideal, I think the phone was better suited. I'm actually really, I prefer it Fire Emblem on my iPad.
Yeah, because the character models are bigger.
Yeah, just like the space just makes it feel. I mean, it works fine on the phone. It scales very well, is what I should say.
Yeah,
like it feels very natural to be playing on the tablet, but it doesn't feel cramped when you're playing on the phone, and I think that's pretty impressive.
I wonder if that's part of my like making the mistake of not ending my turns before I tell them to attack.
I mean, I do that too on like the iPad as well. I actually think there's
I get so mad.
I actually think there's a setting in there that you can change it. You can change it to you have to confirm your move before it does it. Like so when you move your person, it'll say, I'm assuming it'll say like, do you want like confirm this instead of just swiping and have it do it automatically?
Oh yeah, I see. Smart end possibly. Confirm action.
Yeah, I think confirm action. And the other thing that we mentioned it before, but I think the presentation of this game is really good.
Yeah,
it's not perfect, but the music is great. Most like the voice acting is cool. Most of the production values are really nice. Even though it is jarring to see the portraits from different eras up against each other, and occasionally they are ugly, for the most part, they all look really good.
Yeah, and all of the like little chibi models are all really cute, and I like them. Like as they appear on the map or when you're actually playing the game, I think they look great.
I mean, I wonder if Nintendo has, I guess like. Learn their lesson isn't the term I want to use, but here we are.
It's too late. You've already used it.
Because the reaction to Super Mario Run, a lot of the conversation online was very, like, vocally angry about the pricing structure.
Yeah,
and that was reflected in the App Store reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Fire Emblem Heroes. Not as much talk about it online, but I mean, just like look at the difference in reviews. It's like 4.5.
Right.
So if I'm Nintendo, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, we're gonna make these all free to play. I
mean, it is all going to come down to what it makes money wise, right? Like good reviews or no, and like App Store reviews, like that's not the same as like critical reviews, I guess. But so like I think that's what it'll come down to, and I think that's probably why I don't think we mentioned this, but Animal Crossing, the Animal Crossing iPhone game was also delayed. I don't know why I said also, but it was delayed. So I would bet that's partially because they're waiting to see like which of these monetization structures actually works for them. And I could see this one doing it. I mean, right? It makes sense. No one's mad about it as far as I can tell. And we were saying that you could spend a lot of money on this if you wanted to, but I haven't spent a dime on it.
I haven't spent a dime either, and I mean, definitely the people who are spending money on this game are subsidizing.
Oh yeah,
me.
The rest of us,
because I don't like it enough, and I'm not invested enough in the characters to spend any money on it.
Also, I hate the idea of spending money on a chance to get something, especially to get something digital. Like, ooh.
Yeah. I am reminded of a friend who works in mobile development for a large company and was talking about um the game that they developed was like virtual pets essentially.
Yeah.
And like 80% of the people using the game never bought anything, but the 20% that did, and like the 1% that did, was by far subsidizing when people would spend $40,000 a year on customizing their virtual pet, like something that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and this is completely unrelated, but I always feel a little bit weird about these sorts of games because like I'm not buying anything, but my enjoyment of it is being subsidized by people who
have a problem.
Potentially can't afford, I can't afford, who can afford 40, except for a very small percentage of people, like $40,000 a year
just
on a virtual pet.
On a video game.
And I know that Nintendo has put some like limits in place on the amount of money that you can spend per day, but I think it's still over $100.
Yeah, I mean, isn't one of the transactions like $130 or something like that?
Yeah, let's see how much you can spend on orbs. You can spend up to $75 on orbs. To get 140 orbs is $75.
That's nuts.
And you know what? If it brings you enjoyment, right, and you are not harming yourself or anybody else by doing it, like, more power to you.
Sure.
I'm not opposed to this model, but there is something about it.
I mean, it is ultimately predatory, right? I mean, in a way that a lot of industries are, any beer or anything like that, like, oh yeah, the rest of us, it's slightly subsidized by powerful alcoholics who can't stop drinking, so I don't know, I think we just gotta accept the fact that we're all part of an immoral and awful machine. I suppose amoral, not immoral.
But all that being said,
it's a beautiful game.
It really does feel well crafted, and I like that at least right now that since there is no multiplayer aspect, you don't pay to win.
Yes.
It's not like Clash of Clans or Clash Royale or anything where it's like, oh, you want better units? Okay, great. Like, you want to beat your friends? Awesome. Just like give us $100,
and then you can beat your friends,
and for a day or two.
Right.
This is like, so it doesn't have that competitive edge. There's no like pay to win, which at this point I enjoy. Who knows? Maybe like down the line, multiplayer will open up and that will become an option. But at this point, it's not.
Right. It also seems like there are chapters enough. I don't know how many chapters you're through at this point. I think I'm in the middle of chapter 4 somewhere, something like that. But it seems like there's enough just meat on the bones of the main story here. And I mean, Intelligent Systems has been good about updating, like Fire Emblem, both Fates and Awakening have gotten more maps just all the time anyway. So obviously this is going to be no different. If you want something to do in this game, it'll always be there for you. Even, as you say, without a multiplayer or like pay to win kind of component.
Yeah, I mean, basically what it comes down to is I think this is a really good game for if it like meets your needs.
Yeah.
I just don't know that it's a game for me.
Yeah.
There are too many like small negatives about it that I'm like, well, I don't there are other things I would rather put my time into.
Sure. I also, it doesn't feel like a mobile game to me necessarily. Like I don't want to sit down and do one encounter. I want to do like 30.
Also, it's not particularly quick to get to that one encounter, right? It's not like you can just like open it up and be like, oh, boom, I'm going to play this. And then I can like shut it down, and like it takes a while to get into it.
Yeah. Even more so than like Mario Run. Like Mario Run, you could do a Toad Rally while you're sitting on the toilet. I think it would be it wouldn't be appropriate to do a whole fight on the toilet in Fire Emblem Heroes.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like what else to say about this game. I kind of wish I was more positive on it because I don't think it's a bad game, but I don't know that I'll continue playing it.
Well, so I think that's a fine place to leave it. I think we should check in on each other, whenever we get together to just talk about Nintendo into microphones.
Who knows when that'll be?
No one knows. And if we're still playing it, if we're enjoying it, just check back in on that. And if we aren't talking about it or thinking about it anymore, great. Switch is out in a month. Who cares? Right?
Right.
Okay, so Fire Emblem Heroes, weird recommendation to at least check it out.
Yeah, I think definitely check it out. You'll know pretty quickly, potentially from the splash screen, when Boobsy McGee.
See, I disagree. I think you owe it to yourself to put in, if you're going to download it, put in at least a half an hour with the game. Like, I don't think its first impressions are its best.
I agree it's not its best.
But you think it's typical of the game?
I don't know that it's typical, or in my experience, it was pretty much like, okay, this is not going to be for me.
Okay. So you knew right away.
I could judge this book by its cover.
Hey, man, that's fine. Bad books have bad covers. And of course, we have an amazing cover, right? Our cover art.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
We love that. No listener reader question this week, largely because we haven't gotten one in a little bit. So please submit your questions that you'd like us to discuss. Switch is coming up soon. You've got to have feelings about that.
Let us know what you think about Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yeah, or anything that we've talked about, anything you think we might talk about, or anything you're afraid we're not going to talk enough about. And we will not be reading any requests to stop singing Les Mis songs to each other.
We refuse to admit that that could even be a possibility.
No, I don't. I can't imagine a universe where we stop doing that.
Why would we want to?
That's right. If you have any of those questions or suggestions or what have you, you can always write to us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter, and our Twitter handle is NinCart Society, and check out the Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Mark, we're not entertaining split spoilers anymore on account of the movie's out.
And we saw it.
Is there anything else that you need people to gather for you?
I'll have one for next week.
Okay. I hope it is something equally esoteric that we make fun of and then engage in unironically when it actually comes to pass.
Knowing us, it probably will be.
I like it. If you have a second, it'd be great if you could rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or tell your friends about us. That always helps, of course. And while you're checking us out, you can check out the other podcasts on the What's a Creative Podcast Network. If you like Mark and mine's opinions about stuff, we write about comic books on retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan, like I said, made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty, and you can get a little bit more of 8-Bit Betty's music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, I dreamed a dream of times gone by, and thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?